So he gave me his export and I fired up my tools, and using his network, I found around 500 roles. And it wasn't 500 everybody hiring every network or every job in his network. It was very specific to what he was looking for. And I gave it to him, just I wanted to help him on his job search, right? And then we kind of looked at each other. And I was like, "Oh my gosh, I think I just did something cool." And that was the first foray into the land of It Shirley, and it grew from there.
Hey everyone, welcome to Reanimated Stories. I'm your host, Roger from Reanimation Design, and today I have Leslie. I'm really excited to have Leslie. Today we have some cool things that we're going to talk about. You're going to find out some really interesting things about Leslie that I didn't even know the first time, and then we revisited those, and it is really cool. So, Leslie, thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Yes, I'm excited as well. Leslie, sometimes I do a little bit of a long intro and I don't necessarily mean to. So let's just get right into it. So Leslie, tell us a little bit about who you are, what you do, and we just want to hear a little about you.
So, my name is Leslie. I am the founder of Insurely.ai, a networking tool that allows folks to connect deeper with their first degree connections on LinkedIn to find warm opportunities that are already in their network. Outside of that, I also have co-founded a HR and BizOps recruit staffing agent. Nope, consulting agency. There it is. I don't have my words today. Where we work with startups and small businesses to help keep their businesses running smoothly. And before that, I spent most of my career in software and tech.
That is really cool. So you have two businesses, right? So you have the HR and then you also have Intralay.
Yes.
Awesome. And that's not the only thing you do, right? Because you also do something. What do you do outside of that just for fun? Not
I,
just for fun.
yeah, I'm a drummer. I'm a drummer in tech.
That's right. That's right. You're a drummer in two bands. That is so cool. I have, and I think we talked about this before. I had tried doing a little bit of drum. I am a good, like people are like, oh man, I'm really good at like air guitar. I'm not good at air guitar, but I am a good air drummer. I can tell you that right now.
Get the Phil Collins going, especially with
Yeah.
driving. It's perfect. I still
Yeah. I'm not a good air guitarist, not a good air bassist, but air drum, right? Have you ever seen, and this is gonna be way off subject, but have you ever seen they have these competitions like air band? Have you ever seen that before?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah,
I'd rock it at one of them.
yeah, they seriously do. I saw that and I was just like, okay, I don't know what I'm about to watch, but I've heard of it. I'm gonna check it out. And I was like, oh wow, that's actually really good. They don't kid around.
They take it seriously. Funny story, not related, but related. So before
Yeah.
I worked in software and tech, I worked in live television on a
Oh, okay.
live shows, and my goal was to be a stage manager. And so was working on a show as a stage manager, and I was in there as sound check. And granted, these are people that I knew and worked with, like my first job out of college. So we were very comfortable around each other. And they said, "Leslie, we have to do a camera lighting check. Can you get on stage?" And I said, "Sure." And so they're like, "Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to pump in music to your headphones, and we just need you to dance and move around the stage." And I was like, "For real?" And then, yes, they said. And so now I've got Good Charlotte, this was a while back, blaring in my headset, and I'm air guitaring and running around the stage, making an absolute fool of myself, but literally having the best time. And then afterwards, I got back to the production room and they were like, "Yeah, you didn't need to do that. We just wanted to see if you would." And I would. I did.
Yeah,
It was hilarious.
that is
Sort of,
awesome.
but I look back on that and I'm like, maybe that was foreshadowing. I don't know.
Yeah, seriously, that reminds me of, have you ever seen those things like where they do like those clubs where they put the headphones on and so everybody's dancing? It's like the silent bar or something
Yeah,
like
the
that, or silent
silent
dancing.
disco or whatever it's
Yes.
called.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, that's what I think of.
It was just me. I was the only one. Oh my gosh.
Silent disco of one. There was if this is gonna be still going down that same subject, but there was a video game studio called Bungie. They're still around. Now they're owned by Sony, but they're the ones who created Halo and Destiny, that sort of thing. But years ago, back this was back when they were still mainly doing, or only rather doing Halo. They would do this blog where every Friday or something, they would have other video game studios or other brands come and play Halo with them. And so they would do this like a whole blog and give you the highlights. But then what they would do is that they would sometimes they would invite him back, but usually it was like a once or twice a year thing where they had a whole company wide party or whatever. But what they did though was that they had a big rock band concert. And so they would have, so you would get like four or five, and they would have their employees, but they would have a theme, right? So if you were going to be Good Charlotte, if you were going to be ACD, whatever it was, right? You had to dress up. That was going to be your song. And I was like, oh my gosh, that is so cool. That would be so much fun. Yeah.
No,
My wife and I had rock band years ago, and
we
yeah,
don't too. And you
that's
know what's funny? My favorite thing to play on Rock Band was drums. Go
yeah,
figure.
mine too. That was mine. Yeah.
You need to start drumming, man.
Yeah, I know. My dad gave my parents had found a $50 a electronic drum set. And they bought one, and so they're like, "Hey," because I have two boys, and so they're like, maybe the oldest wants to maybe play it. I was like, "Oh yeah, sure." The problem is that the control panel or whatever, like when you click it to turn it on, it's one of those you click it and it'll turn on, but it won't, and so you have to hold it. But it's at such a weird angle. I've been like racking my brain trying to figure out, okay, what can I put there? Because I don't want to open it up and try to figure out how to solder in and all that sort of stuff. I'm sure I have a friend or a neighbor who knows how to do that, but I just need something that's thick enough, but also thin enough that will sit there and just the button down. Oh, hold on a second. That was weird. Sorry. That my screen went blank all of a sudden. I don't know why. But anyway, but yeah, no, that's what and so I've like thinking I told my dad, "Oh yeah, yeah, sure. I'll let him try it out." But really it's maybe my time to start playing drums.
It's for me. I'm already
Yeah.
thinking of ways to hold down that button. Oh my gosh,
Oh yeah. Yes, we'll definitely talk about that afterwards. Anyway, we have gone on about drums, and that's not what you came on, but I'm glad that we talked about that because that's so cool.
talk
I remember when
about
you told me
drums
that.
all
That is,
day, all day.
and real quick before we go off of there, you said you're on two different bands.
Yep.
So what are the two bands? Because if I remember correctly, they're very different. Is
They
that correct?
are very different. So the first band is called Probably Fine, which the name cracks us all up. And we do 90s and 2000s girl grunge, girl rock covers with a few of the best hits of the grunge era thrown in. So we do a lot of Garbage, Hole, Cranberries, but of course we've got Nirvana thrown in the mix for good measure and some other ones. We just finished our promo shoot, so we're going to be hopefully getting out to book some larger gigs soon. And then the other one,
That's
that
awesome.
band is called Take It the Fifth, and it is more folky, not folky, Americana, blues rock, playing more songs out of the 60s and 70s, which is a lot of fun. And just the
Yes.
polar opposites that these bands are is also really fun.
Yes, I remember you telling me about that, and that shows such a diversity and such a skill set of being able to like, okay, we're going to do this, and now we're gonna have this sort of music. So that's really cool. Awesome. Thank you for sharing that with me. I really appreciate that, Leslie. So Leslie, let's talk a little bit about Intrally. Tell me a little bit of, so you had mentioned that it's for you to take your LinkedIn contacts and what you're doing there, but also to find leads from there. But a lot of times companies say that, but you do it just a little bit differently. So tell us a little bit about what you do with Intrally.
Sure. I think it's pertinent to kind of share how Intrally started, as I didn't mean to start. I kind of laugh at that because my quippy tagline is I accidentally started a second company. And it came about as a result of the networking that I was doing with Sunup Operations, which is my HR and biz ops consulting company. So here I am. I know I need to do networking and I'm doing that, right? I'm trying to land my first consulting client and doing the thing. And as I'm in the networking circuit, which is actually how Roger and I met, which is incredible. You meet some really amazing people as you start expanding and talking about your businesses. I noticed myself connecting with a lot of former colleagues and coworkers from my career of yesteryear, shall we say. And
Um,
I'm on calls with these people and I'm really just getting a front row seat to the job market and from people who are really good. I'm talking these were A players. They were people who would typically hit the job market and 4 to 6 weeks later be in a new role anytime they hit the job market. And I'd seen the job market myself go from taking 3 to 4 weeks to land a role to now I'm talking to folks, and this was almost a year ago, saying it's been 9 to 10 months. Finances are starting to get really shaky, my unemployment's ending, and I was just hearing this over and over. And I knew I wanted to do something. I didn't know what that thing was, but I wanted to help people. And sure, I do resume writing. I really love it, which is a weird thing to really love to do, but here we are. And so I was helping folks out with some resume writing. And then the aha moment came when my husband, who was gainfully employed's company, announced that they were out of money and that the
oh
company was gonna
wow.
be shutting down, essentially. And this was about 3 months into my own entrepreneurial journey, and we were like, "Oh my gosh, this is huge." His was supposed to be the finance that kept the business afloat, right? And so we started talking about career pathing and how jobs are landed through referrals and reminiscing about our own jobs and referrals. We just kept talking about referrals because even if I look back at my own career, a lot of my roles, if not like all of them, maybe all but 2 were landed through a referral. And so one night he comes into my office and he's like, I just spent 6 hours going through every single one of my LinkedIn first degree connections to find out who was connected to companies that were hiring the roles I wanted. And he found himself, I'd say about 50 jobs or so. And I was like, that's great. And me being an ops brained person, I heard 6 hours, right? And I was like and
Yeah.
I've done it too, right? When I was launching Sun Up operations, I was exporting my network and going through things by hand and making all of these ranked lists, and that's when the light bulb in my head went off of, "Oh my gosh, I know how to automate this process. Please, sir, give me your data. I would like to try something." And so he gave me his export and I fired up my tools and using his network, I found around 500 roles. And it wasn't 500 everybody hiring every network or every job in his network. It was very specific to what he was looking for. And I gave it to him just I wanted to help him on his job search, right? And then we kind of looked at each other. And I was like, "Oh my gosh, I think I just did something cool." And that was the first foray into the land of Insurely, and it grew from there.
That's really cool that you had found that many contacts and first degree connections and all of these different things off of LinkedIn. I have LinkedIn, right? Most people have LinkedIn, or a lot of people have LinkedIn, right? Depending on how much you use it. And I have quite a few first degree connections. And it wasn't really until we started talking that I really started to think, oh, yeah, you know what? I don't know what I necessarily do with those first degree connections. And sometimes I'll tell people, like, hey, let me connect you, let me help you out and stuff. And go through my first degree connections or something like that. But really thinking of it in that way of, you know what? I have all of these connections. Who also are they connected to? And I think that we think that, but then once you start getting hundreds, if not thousands of connections, and those are in it needs to be thought of differently somewhat than you think of a follower on Instagram,
Right.
Facebook, all that sort of stuff, because these are connections. I've started to really think about, and you can comment on this, about connections. I'm going to connect with this person because I want to reach out to them. and I would be willing to have a conversation with them, whether it's in person or whether it's a virtual chat. So tell us a little bit more about that, about what you're doing with those connections and how that's really playing into what you're doing and how you're taking that data and really finding a gold mine in there.
I think something that rings true to me, and I know a lot of people on LinkedIn, is LinkedIn started a couple decades ago as
Yeah.
a primarily we all viewed it as a job seeking platform, right? Connect
Right.
with people. And when it comes time to look for work again, you'll have whatever. We started building that. And so back to '09, right? You're adding people to your LinkedIn network, being pretty I was at first being very selective with who I added to my LinkedIn. And I didn't know what I was doing with it, right? It morphed into a lot of thought leadership. It's a salesy platform now. And a lot of people I know that I've had conversations with are just sitting there scratching their heads. What is LinkedIn even anymore? And the job search functionality in there isn't great. And one thing that really lit a fire under me with Insurely as I was testing it out and bringing more people into the product and reports was I was getting emails forwarded to me from job seekers. You can turn on your job alerts, and they were all closed roles. I was like, job seekers have it hard enough. Now we're just sending them
Yeah.
emails of a bunch of closed roles. And I was like, listen, man, I work with the data. I know it's a tag. Turn it off. Take filter them out. This is just cruel and unusual punishment. So,
Yeah.
spoiler, surely we filter out the closed roles because that shouldn't even be a thing that hits a job seeker's plate. But then you start looking at your own network in terms of business building. And when I first launched Intrally, I think Roger, we talked pretty soon after I launched Intrally,
Yeah.
and the consultants and the coaches and the entrepreneurs of the world heard what I was doing and they said, well, wait, hold on. You can find people jobs in their first degree connections. What about clients? And I was like, "Well, yeah, of course I can find that. All compliantly with LinkedIn's terms of service. I will just give my little disclaimer there. I used it myself. I started going through my own connections. You're sitting on this group of people that you spent your career cultivating and connecting with, and then it's really hard to dig deep in them. Sure, you can use some of LinkedIn's native tools, but every time I try, I always get hit with a blocker. I want to look at them this way. I want to find these types of people, and here's either a small set or you can't do that. You got to
Yeah.
filter your way around things. And I'm just like, why did we spend so long pouring our professional selves into this platform, and then they keep all of our most close connections inside this black box that you can only peek into. And we know as business owners ourselves, as job seekers, we know the referrals are what gets you the sale. We know warm connections convert better. And inside of your own LinkedIn connections, you have warm and lukewarm leads, right? You know them personally, you've worked with them, you know who they are, or you're connected somehow, right? We all have those people too. You're like, I don't know who you are, but welcome to the network, right? And both of those give you great paths to reach out through. One, hey, Roger, I forgot that we were connected. I launched a business or I'm trying to do this thing. Let's catch up. Let's talk. Let's see what's going on in each other's world. Or, hello, John Smith, this person that I am randomly connected with on LinkedIn. I'm reaching out to you because we're connected on LinkedIn. I'd like to learn more about you. That kinda just made me think of the messaging though. I think it's easy for me, it's easy to find what you're looking for in your LinkedIn network. That's what I do. I love to do it. I will put some more masking tape on my glasses. I really love technology. Um, but the next question I always get asked is, "How do I reach out to these people?" It's scary. Hey, I get it too. I send, unsend, send, unsend, send, unsend messages, like, all the time, and I've kind of just adopted the Nike method of just do it. And I will tell you a story, if I can, about what's important. So, I started set up operations and reaching deep into my network and having those philosophical conversations with myself. How well did I know this person? Would they even want to talk to me? Should I do it? And you have that imposter syndrome too. I think when you're starting a new business, it's vulnerable and it's scary once you start getting it outside of your head and in front of people. And there was this one person on my connection list. I'm like, man, I haven't worked with him for 15 years. We worked together for a year. He was in legal. I was in project management. Would he even remember me if I reached out to him? I don't know. I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna do it. I'm just gonna do it. What's the worst that happens? He ghosts me. I can live with that. And I think a lot more people can too when you realize that's the worst that could happen. Your
Yeah.
email get responded to. So you know what? I wrote up an email and sent it over the wall. Did not expect anything. He responded very quickly and was like, "Oh my gosh, I would love to connect and hear what you're up to." We scheduled time. He was one of the first people to take my business, the first one, Sun Up, seriously. He read my pitch deck. He went through my website. He's built his own company, very successful, gave me really solid feedback on what to do, and immediately started referring opportunities to me. This guy
It's
that
awesome.
I didn't even think I wanted to message because I was too scared. And then when I started Intrally, I was like, "Hey, so I accidentally started a second company," and he became my one of my first clients at Intrally. Loved what I was doing. He still refers people to me to this day. He's up in Washington. We always go get lunch, and I almost didn't send the message
Yeah.
to one of the most pivotal people in my career journey or my business journey, and that's what I encourage people to do now too. Now you know who's in your network. Just send the message. Like, rare that people are gonna come back at you and I told you. In fact, that hasn't happened to me at all. Usually you get ghosted, or even funnier, you send out a message, 6 months go by, and then someone's, "Oh my gosh, I don't know how I missed this.
Yeah.
Let's connect." And you're like, "Whoa, okay." You never know who's gonna respond, and I think it's just being real and human in how you reach out to people once you know who to reach out to. I sent this message to this huge influencer on LinkedIn. Honestly, probably someone that I had no business messaging. I'm just like, "Oh, she looks interesting. I'm gonna send her a message." And she responded, and I was like, rub my eyes. Did she actually just respond to my LinkedIn message? And she said, "I get hundreds of people reaching out to pitch me every day. I don't even pay attention to them." She's like, "But your message stood out because it was authentic. You were approaching it as you, and yeah, let's chat." And then I got on the phone. She's like, "I've already researched your company. I've already shared it out with my network. I've already done all of this stuff for Insurely before I was able to be
Oh,
like, 'Hi, I'm Leslie.'" You know?
that's
And
cool.
so send the message and be authentic. Don't send canned stuff. If you're connecting with people you're already connected with, connect with them as a human first.
Yeah. I think that what you just said is really important. And I think that a lot of times we think with LinkedIn, especially, it's like I hesitate sometimes to connect with somebody because I'm like, all right, about how fast are they going to send me an AI generated pitch, right? I know that they're going to probably do that. And I think that, and I've had another guest on here recently and talking very similarly about the same thing that you are just send the message. But I think the second part of what you said is the most important part, which is be authentic and be real.
Mm,
Take a few moments and just do a little bit of research, even if it's just one little tiny thing, because I think people want to connect. And that's why it's called a connection, right? Hey, I want to connect with you. And like you said, I would love to have coffee with you, right? Even if it's virtually, right? I'd love to chat with you about this thing. And I think a lot of times people are like, they're like bracing, right? Okay, am I going to get pitched, right? And are they going to send me, hey, in brackets, first underscore name, and it's going to be the same? Yeah, yeah, and I think that's really important to have that. I try to as best as I can when I connect with somebody, and I don't have premium or anything like that, so I can only send so many. But if it's somebody that I don't, if it's somebody that I've met maybe locally or I followed or something like that, I don't usually send a note. But if I've met them and if I maybe not have met them and I want them to remember, I'll send a quick, hey, I saw you here, or I like this thing, wanted to connect with you, right? And then it's hopefully if they connect, they're like, cool, okay, cool. Hey, thanks so much for connecting. I'd love to chat with you because I thought this was really cool, right? And it's not, oh, I'm going to try to pitch you my services, right? And I think that a lot of times, what, like you said, we like tense up and, oh my gosh, they're not going to be my friend. And somehow they're going to tell everybody about me. And then nobody's going to want to be my friend, like that sort of thing. When it's like, they're just like, yeah, yeah, yeah. How many times have we said probably to ourselves, like, oh man, they're probably going to yell at me for this? I know I've done it. I'm like, oh my gosh, this person that I'm reaching out to, they're going to be like, why are you contacting me? And da da da. No, they either A, don't contact me, or they're like, not at this time. But I've never gotten a, why the heck are you contacting me? And blah, 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 blah. I think we build that up in our
Yeah.
own minds.
I think it's and maybe a lot of us approach LinkedIn like other socials, right? Where
Yeah.
comment sections and people can get intense, shall we
Yeah.
say, but I mean,
Yes.
it's still it is very influencery now over on LinkedIn. When you're connecting with people, same thing like you, send a connection request, and that's a great time to be like, "Hey, I just sent Roger a connection request. Hey, Roger, we were connected by this person, or I saw this thing that you did, would love to connect with you." When you accept the request, then you get the little message notification, and then my next move, if I was sending you the connection request, would be like, "Hey, it's so great to connect. Thank you for accepting the invite. I'd love to grab a virtual coffee with you and just learn more about you." People love to do? Talk about themselves. So, get them on a call and get them talking about themselves. And then that's you can find out what they're working on, where their problem areas lay. And you know what? When you take this route, sometimes they don't need what you're pitching, right?
Yeah.
You don't have to jam it in there, but you can be like, "Hey, how else can I help you? Who do you want to be connected with?
Yes.
Who are your referral partners?" Etcetera, etcetera. And now you've got a helpful system of people around you. And you know what? At some point, they might need your services. You shared
Yeah.
what you did, but you didn't pitch them immediately. And that's kind of how I approach sales in general myself. I think the Insurely story is strong and what I'm doing is helpful and it is beneficial. And we do have it systematized where it's not Leslie in the background slinging spreadsheets as much anymore, which is really nice. But it's there to help people. And that's what I want to do. But also, who can I connect you with? Who are you looking to meet? Because those of us who do a lot of networking, which is a lot of business owners and entrepreneurs, we end up with crazy Rolodexes.
Yes.
And it's of course I'm willing to connect people with other people. That's also
Yeah.
half the fun too, when you're like, "Ooh, this person and this person should be" that would be great.
Yes. No, you hit the nail right on the head because I think that's really what it comes down to is who can we connect other people to? I'm not coming in to have a pitch. I'm here to listen to what you're doing. If you ask me some questions and you let me talk, cool, awesome. But at the end of the day, I still want to know who is it that you want to be connected to. I can't maybe give you a referral at the moment, right? But I could connect you to a person who works with those people, who is surrounded by those people, or who has a good connection. And I think that has really been a huge game changer for me of thinking of that way. Okay, who do I need to, what rooms do I need to be in so that I can be around those people? But most importantly, so that I can connect them because I want to also be top of mind, but also
Right.
I just want to give. I want to be able to talk to people
Yeah.
and to be able to sometimes, especially when it comes to B2B, you have to play that long game. It's not necessarily I'm going to get the sale right now, but it's like, hey, let me help out, let me connect, let me help you. Even if like, man, I'm not okay, I really like what you're doing. We're not going to maybe necessarily be able to work together, but I believe in what you're doing and I want to connect you to other people. And maybe at some point they're like, hey, I do need something that you have. And maybe they don't though, right? At the end of the day, it's still about connecting people. Also liked how you mentioned, oh, I'm sorry, were you going to say something, Leslie?
Nope.
Oh, okay. I also liked how you said it's not you in the back. I can just see it, like those investor screens where they got like six of those screens and they're like all these things are going. So
Yeah.
that's really cool that you have that. And so if you don't mind, because I know that you had shared this before, and I do think that is a great way because I do want to bring attention to that. Is that you've unfortunately had a little bit of tragedy there at Intrally, if that's correct. If you want to, would you mind sharing that?
Yeah, so it's been about 3 weeks now. I found out that the individual that was building the technical foundation of Insurely with me tragically passed away in a motorcycle accident. Completely unexpectedly, I got the news on a Monday when we were getting the biggest shout out we've ever gotten in a newsletter. And I logged in that morning and I was seeing new signups come into Insurely, and it was very exciting. And I saw a message come through and I thought it was him, and I was gonna jump in, and it was a message from his partner sharing that he passed away in a motorcycle accident that weekend, which was shocking. I think I read that message, I read it again, rubbed my eyes, read it again, and then like any human, I'm gonna normalize grief. I stood up from my computer, then sat back down, was like, I still have some work to do. My brain was scrambled eggs. I couldn't function. I walked into my bedroom where my husband was and just started crying. And I was like, oh my gosh, like complete shock. I spent 2 days laying on the couch under a blanket, not moving. And I also promised myself I'm a doer, I'm an action oriented type of girl. And I said to myself, "You are not allowed to make any decisions for 3 days. You're processing, you need to figure out what to do, and the first thing you think of is probably not gonna be the right thing." And I connected with folks who were close to the situation, and we offered each other a lot of support. And I think as an entrepreneur, how do you deal with the loss of somebody that you built with, right? You're in the weeds with this person. I'd worked with this person previously to Intruly. And then also what was really breaking my brain was like, I have to think about the business. And I was just like, how it almost felt crass to me to have to think about,
Yeah.
it still does, if I'm being honest, to think about business in the face of such tragic loss. He had a baby on the way, in 2 weeks' time was going to have his third child with his partner. And I was at a complete loss. And I think a testament to the entrepreneurial community. And when you're on the outside looking in, it seems like it's very much every man for himself or herself. When you're in it, the support that I have found, not just for Insurely, but for his family, has been has blown me away. The first thing people asked was like, "Are you okay? What do you need? How can we support his family?" It wasn't go away. Everyone banded together. And so I was able to get a GoFundMe set up for his partner, which I am very grateful that she was open to that. And then one of our mutual colleagues reached out and was like, "We're going to help make sure Insurely is stable. Don't worry about that." And I was just unprompted. I was blown away by the generosity of people. And it's been a weird couple weeks where you're wondering, what is the future of
Yeah.
my is this thing that I've poured myself into with the help of this amazing, incredible human. His name was Pablo. Like, is it time to put it to bed? Is it time to walk away? And talking to our mutual friends, it was like, no, we're gonna build this even bigger and better for him, because he believed in this enough to be working with me on this idea that I had. And so we really wanna do him proud, and it's just a period of figuring out, like, what do we need to do? What don't we know? And moving forward, and we're gonna do it, which is exciting. More to come along what's next for Interly soon.
Yeah. That when you told me that, I was like you said, I was shocked. And yeah, it was crazy to hear that. And just like you said, one, I love how you said I took 3 days to not make any decision. I think a lot of times in tragedy, whatever that tragedy may be, we think, okay, I got to make a decision now. But sometimes you just have to, like you said, you have to be under the covers, right? And you have to let your mind rest. You have to process. You have to cry. You have to just scream and get frustrated and just question, right? You just have to be in that moment and understand that, and then say, okay, now I need to start kind of thinking and writing things down, or whatever that process may be for yourself, right? So I think that that's great. And you're building a company, right? That's a lot to have to try to think about all of those things. and also to, because just like you said, it's like this is not just a colleague, this was a friend, this was somebody that I had built something with and that I was building something with, and now all of a sudden I have to think about doing it without him. And like you said, that seems a little crass, but thinking through, okay, I want to do this not just for myself but for
Right.
him, to honor that and not just give up on it, because it's then what was he building? What was he doing? It's like he
Right.
just gave up as soon as, yeah. So I think that's great. So thank you for sharing that, Leslie. I hope that really helps kind of spark a little bit in something. So I really appreciate that. So as you're going through this, as you're going through building Intrally and this tragedy, and you're going through and you're trying to figure out how to navigate all of this, if someone's thinking, okay, one, man, I'm trying to build something, but something has happened in my life. What are some things? So you said you gave yourself some time to think about it, but what are some other things that you've learned? And I know it's only been about 3 or so weeks as of the recording, but what are some other things that have surfaced, like where you're like, okay, these are the things that I need to kind of think about and slow down and do? Can you tell us a
Yeah.
little bit about that?
I think first you nailed it. Don't force yourself to make decisions if you can, right? Sometimes when we're close to tragic situations like this and we're the immediate partner, spouse, child, there's a lot of planning and things that you need to put into motion immediately. And so for those people, yes, do what you need to do and know that there are people who want to support you. um, for me, I've experienced grief in my life, and I do unfortunately know the only way through it is through it, right? And so I was like, I'm not gonna push, I'm gonna just allow myself to be sad. And you know what? I
Yeah.
did tell my HR client I just had a really tragic business loss, and they were like, "Go, please take some time." So I was fortunate to be able to clear the runway and just let myself be and think. What do I need to do? Am I shutting down the company? How do I support his partner? What all the what ifs? What am I pivoting my business? I was like, stop, just sit with it. The answers will come, but you can't force them. And so I could feel my brain switching from absolute shock and panic. And that's when I knew, okay, it was time to be able to start thinking about this. And the first thing I did was I took an inventory, right? What systems do I have access to? What systems should I have access to? And there were systems that I did not have. And you know what? As a founder, like lesson, the thing that I tell every company when I'm consulting, no one person should own any one system. Did I do that for all of my systems? No, I had about 80% of them. But when it's two people building together, you're not even thinking about planning for scenarios like this, and it has fundamentally changed how I approach business. I know it's annoying when you're working with one other person and you're like, we need to use this login for this. That will never happen again for me
Yeah.
professionally. I will have those safeguards in place, and I know it's annoying, but I'm going to hold to it. Absolutely. And then really trying to identify the known unknowns and then what are the unknown unknowns,
Hmm.
right? Fortunately, I've had some wonderful mutuals of ours step in to help me get things going because the things Pablo was building were a little bit more technical than where I'm at. And I love technology, but he was an absolute brilliant mind in this space. So once we're able to look at that, we know the steps. Now we're going to look at these systems, and this will tell us if we're missing anything. And we're looking at a rebuild or get access type of a situation, and both are fine. I think in my mind, when I was like, I'm not stopping. And sure, oh my, like, why did I even think that? Grief. Let the thoughts come and you'll work through them. We're like, no, we're going to rebuild it bigger and better and stronger based on the foundation that Pablo built. I'm literally at the point where this week I'm gonna be getting information about what happens with some of the systems that we have, and then we'll know how to move forward. And part of it is also embracing what you can control and releasing what you can't control. And it's hard and it's painful and it's awkward, but working through it and then taking those learnings. I know how I'm gonna handle access moving forward. I know that I need different documentation for things. I'm gonna make sure I have that, and just keep putting one foot in front of the other. And fortunately, people see in it surely what I see in it and they want to help, which is just so special to me. And I feel so blessed to have this community around me. So here we go. I'm still working through it. I'm putting one foot in front of the other, but I am also, I don't think we've talked, I'm very passionate about helping people through grief, especially in business settings, because my father passed away when I was in my corporate job. And I remember I was going to a career counselor and I was like, how do executives handle grief? This is so weird, mind boggling to work through. And it changed a lot of perspective. And I think because of that, I kinda knew what to expect in this, even though it's very different, but my door is always open, especially for people who have gone through loss and just are like, wanna talk at someone, wanna yell at someone, whatever, I'm here for it.
Well, that's awesome. I appreciate you sharing that and opening up about that because I know that that was a huge loss, and I hope that all of that goes well. And I love that again, building it for him even better. So I
Yeah.
appreciate that,
I mean,
Leslie. Yes, 100%, 100%. So Leslie, if someone is thinking, hey, you know what, I'm kind of interested in this Intrally thing. I want to kind of find out a little bit more about it, what it does, and all that. How can they contact you? Where can they find you online, website, wherever? How can they connect with you?
easiest is Leslie at insurely.ai. That is my email, Leslie at introly.ai. Don't do com. I won't get it. I'm also on LinkedIn at Leslie Lulham. You can check out my website, www.insurely.ai. I have promo coupons if anybody wants to give it a try. I love sharing those. I love to meet new people. I love to chat with people. I promise I won't pitch slap you. So come talk and share and let's connect.
That's awesome. I appreciate that. We'll have all of the description, or we'll have all of those links in the description as well. And also, if somebody wanted to hear you in one of your bands, is that available anywhere?
Yes. On Instagram, it is probably fine band. We're on Instagram, we're on YouTube. We're still building it out. We're still building it out. And then the other band called Taken the Fifth is just on Facebook right now. So we are up in the Vancouver, Washington, Portland, Oregon area. So if you're here and want to come listen to some music, would love to meet some folks.
That's awesome. Leslie, thank you so much. Thank you for sharing part of your grief with us and the fact that you'd love to chat with somebody about that and just sharing that and opening up with that and allowing us to get into that. And thank you so much for telling us more about Intrilly and about what you're doing. And I really appreciate you joining me and taking time out
You
today.
know, it's been wonderful.